I can probably guess what you guys are thinking. The title of this video is a bold statement. Not because the show isn't brilliant, I think most of us who clicked on this video recognize how great this show is, but because the competition is extremely fierce. The Penguin, Daredevil, Teen Titans Go, The Boys. Actually, no, let's be honest, it's better than The Boys. Now, the reason why I say it's the best show of the last 20 years instead of all time is because, in my opinion, Justice League, and particular Batman the Animated Series, is better. I haven't met anyone who watched those shows and didn't love it. It is the gold standard of superhero shows. However, after finishing season 3, I genuinely believe that Invincible has the right characters, story, and factor to be better than even those superhero shows. So let's talk about season 3 and why it's for me the best season of the show. Ever since I started watching movies, I always had the opinion that the story is the most important element to a great movie. And that always applied to shows as well. However, over the last couple of years, I've actually changed my mind and realized that characters are even more important. We've seen shows like Stranger Things with a mediocre to good story. However, it's insanely popular because the characters are so lovable. And Invincible certainly has some incredible characters. Not you! Mark Grayson is my favourite character of the show and has some real potential to become my favourite protagonist ever depending on the next couple of seasons. By far my favourite aspect of his character is his good side. He's sweet, considerate, and always tries to find time for the people he loves. But being a superhero makes it so difficult for him to not only spend time with his loved ones, but he's even struggling to stay sane. He reminds me of Spider-Man in terms of balancing a really harsh superhero life with a life at college. It's what makes these characters so lovable and relatable. However, with Mark, he gets tested so much further than Spider-Man, to the point where he loses control and breaks his own morals by killing his opponents. And now in season 3, we get this quote at the very end.
So if anyone else ever puts my family or anyone I love at risk, I won't hesitate to kill them.
I'm sorry, but that's just so fucking cool. And as an audience, we can sense that Mark is going to be a lot harsher from now on with his battles, even if the enemy isn't very strong, especially because those alternate Invincibles, which was a great episode by the way, were mostly bad people. We have many superheroes like Batman who refuse to kill because they know the moment you kill one person, it only spirals from there. But as the viewer, you really can't blame Mark for choosing to kill some of these villains. His world is so harsh that it's given him no choice. My other two favorites are Cecil and Debbie. Cecil in particular gets quite a bit of time dedicated to his backstory this season, and he reminds me so much of Commander Owen from Attack on Titan. Someone who's willing to make the choice that no one else can make, even at the cost of his own well-being.
We can be the good guys, or we can be the guys that save the world. We can't be both.
He is the embodiment of that quote. He turns villains into superheroes, overworks his staff, and keeps secrets from even his most loyal members, all at the cost of being hated by his own employees and superheroes, including Invincible. And he does do it for the greater good. And the arguments between Invincible and Cecil are so good, some of the best in the show. And I love how there's debates online on whose side you're on, and for me personally it's Cecil. I think he's perfectly justified for using villains as his tools. After all, you've got to play with the cards you're given. Imagine if Nightwing didn't come to the rescue and save everyone. Everyone would have been fucked, so if I was Mark, I'd be thanking Cecil for saving everyone. Although I have to admit that he went a little overboard with his clash against Mark. He really didn't have to hurt him that much. And also, he does something really dumb at the end of the show. Why did you do that? And then on a more personal level, we have Debbie, someone who in this crazy world is just a normal human being. I value perspective a lot in shows and movies. For example, in Godzilla x Kong, we see these giant monsters fight. However, we don't truly see how massive these creatures are. We never get a camera angle from a human's perspective. But by having a character with as much screen time as Debbie, we get some real perspective with how strong everyone is. Her trying to move on from her previous husband is so hard to watch as well. I feel so bad for her. Imagine spending 20 years with someone only to find out that it was fake and that he killed a fuck ton of people. Those scenes of her trying to move on are some of the most emotional in the entire show. Especially because she doesn't really have anyone to reach out to, and the moment she does, she got absolutely shit on for it. Which is why her relationship with the new guy is actually really sweet. He's just a normal guy, but he's likable because he's seemingly the only normal person who listens to Debbie. The way this show handles relationships is really well done. Mark and Eve have great chemistry with each other, and I'll be honest, I was rattled when I thought she died. I genuinely care about what happens to the relationship, and it's an overall upgrade from Mark and Amber. But honestly, I've got so much more to talk about. Omni-Man coming to terms with his new identity, Rex's character arc from season 1 to 3, Alan's probably the funniest character in the show, and Eve is way better than Amber. It's just amazing how much depth each character has. Almost every character in the show I can say is at least a little bit cool. Definitely not all of them though, I'm not gonna lie to you, but Angstrom, he fucking sucks. His motivations just make no sense. I'm gonna save him for later though, as we're now going to talk about the story. First of all, there is a lot going on in this universe. Viltrumites want to take over Earth, we travel through planets and discover other societies, we go through fucking multiverses, and yet it never feels overwhelming. We get just enough information from each plotline. For example, Omni-Man and Alan really don't get that much screen time, especially compared to previous seasons. And normally I'd be upset at this because I really like both of these characters. I'd like to see more of them. But the other plotlines are so engaging that I really don't mind those two having a little bit less screen time this season. And we see just enough of them for us to still like them as characters. And hopefully in season 4 they get a lot more impact. Anything to do with Viltrumites in particular is for me the most interesting storyline in the series. Whether it be Alan convincing Omni-Man to fight back against the Empire, Anissa trying to convince Mark to become loyal, and Conquest having the ability to single-handedly destroy the entire planet. Every time there's a Viltrumite on screen, they just take over. It reminds me of Homelander a bit, where they could just snap at any moment and destroy anything they wanted in an instant. One thing I absolutely love is how much more is at stake as the story progresses. And that is because the world building in the show is insane. We don't really get to see anything up beyond Earth except for a couple of times where Omni-Man destroyed a fucking planet all on his own. But from season 2 onwards, I have been such a massive fan by how much this world has expanded. We get villains from Mars, the Viltrumites, we get to see 10 Invincibles from alternate timelines, antagonists come from all over the place. And I have to talk about the finale. Conquest is just so fucking cool. He appears in 2 episodes and he's still easily one of the most memorable villains in the entire series. I love how even other Viltrumites are scared of him. At one point, I really thought the only way these two are going to win is if Alan and Omni-Man came to his rescue. But part of what makes Invincible so damn strong is his willingness to keep going. The guy has 2 broken arms, a broken leg, and yet he still continues fighting. IGN gave this episode a 4 out of 10, what the f- But honestly, it's probably not a good thing that Conquest is already one of the most memorable villains. Not because he's shit, but it reflects how mediocre the previous villains have been. He just doesn't have many people to compete with. Omni-Man is an excellent villain for season 1, but beyond that we have Angstrom, who for me at least is the worst character in the show. Okay, strap in your seatbelts for a bit because I'm gonna go on a fucking rant. A character's motives are very important, and let me tell you that Angstrom's motives are just plain awful. To the point where I'd rather him have none at all. We've seen iconic characters like the Joker having no motivation to do what he does. He just simply wants to watch the world burn, which is terrifying because no one can reason with him. However, giving a villain a reason to do what he does allows audiences to potentially resonate and sometimes even root for them if they're really well written. However, Angstrom has none of that. Let's go back to when these two met. Angstrom is a genius who invents a way to go through the multiverse. And his intentions are good. He wants to build a utopia with advanced medicine and all that good stuff. And then Invincible, who is ordered to take down his invention, tries to stop it. And so Angstrom fights back by bringing Maulers from other universes, and so because of that, Invincible gets his fucking ass kicked. But he doesn't want Invincible to die, he only wants to delay him. So he fucks himself over by taking off the helmet to save Invincible and then blows everything up instead. And so he blames Invincible for this, which is fucking dumb in my opinion. And when Angstrom returns, he gets even more mad at Invincible, because he's evil in the other universes.
Oh, that's why you're so angry. Because you turned out rotten here, and Mark is the hero for once.
Why are you getting mad over literal facts? Open your damn eyes, please. Okay, so let's recap. He blames Invincible for blowing up his invention, which was his fault, not Mark's. He blames Invincible for being evil in the other universes, which is obviously really dumb. And he's a pussy who doesn't listen to logic and reason, even though he's supposedly this really smart character and wants to make the world a better place. Anyway, yeah, the 2 blue aliens kind of sucked as well. Good personalities, but I was never interested in the stories. And then the other villains just haven't had enough screen time for me to have a good opinion about them. Oh my god, and I just remembered Powerplex. That one electricity guy, he's fucking awful as well. He gets mad at Invincible for saving people. It reminds me of Civil War when the government got mad at the Avengers for not saving every single person during an invasion. Although I do have faith that these villains become better over time. After all, we've seen characters like Amber and Rex turn from annoying characters to actually pretty decent. Also, whilst we're on the topic of villains, I love how Omni-Man isn't really a villain anymore. We have a character who has already lived thousands of years, spending that entire time killing societies and taking over worlds, only for him to now regret it. He doesn't even understand it in the beginning.
They shouldn't matter to me.
That doesn't mean they should die.
You don't understand! I'm not supposed to feel this way!
No wonder he spent the entire season basically wanting to die. He feels guilty for killing genuinely tens of billions of lives that now mean something to him. It's crazy how a character with as much depth as Omni-Man doesn't even make my top 3 favorite characters, That's how well written everyone else is in the show. So yeah, back to the topic of story though. I've praised this season because of its plot points are all either engaging or interesting. But in season 2, there's a lot of plot lines that are a lot less interesting. It's actually the reason why I stopped watching the show for a while, because it did get a little boring at one point. Which is why I can't say it's the best superhero show ever made. Damn, season 2 had quite a few issues. I promise I love this show. It's still the best superhero show in 20 years, it just has quite a few problems. Season 3 did have one plotline that I didn't really care about. A lot of people seem to like the relationship between Rex and Ray, and it was great in terms of converting Rex from an asshole to a great character. But honestly, if you remove like half of the scenes, it would have flowed a lot better in my opinion. That doesn't mean I don't enjoy spending time with characters simply interacting with each other though. I actually think it's one of Invincible's strengths. Mark and Eve simply spending time together and even opening up their own little business is cute, and I really enjoyed watching it. And the dialogue is a big reason for that. They genuinely feel like real people, which isn't always easy to do, and so this show deserves a lot of praise for having consistently great writing and dialogue from season 1 till now. So I'll give a quick rating for each season. Season 1 gets a 9 out of 10, season 2 gets a 7.5, and I'll give season 3 a 9.1 because I think it's slightly better than the first season. A lot of people point out that the animation is shit as well. I mean, it's never bothered me personally. I've watched plenty of incredible shows with worse animation, but I sure as hell won't be complaining if the animation does get better from now on. If the show keeps this pace for the next 2 to 3 seasons, I'm not gonna lie to you guys, this show could be up there as not only one of my favorite superhero shows, but among some of my favorite shows ever. Thank you guys for watching. I'm actually really interested in your guys' opinions on which Invincible season is your favorite. So I'm adding a link in the description for a poll if you guys want to vote. And as of recording this video, we hit 500 subs! Thank you guys so much. It seriously means the world to me. I absolutely love making these videos, and you guys are the biggest reason for that. Most of your comments are just so nice, and it just keeps me motivated to keep going. I really hope you guys have a great rest of your week, and I'll see you guys in the next video. See ya!